Politically, Jagmeet Singh is the one person who has the power to call for an election. All he has to do is dissolve the coalition. And if he cared about Canadians, that's exactly what he'd do. But he doesn't care about Canadians. Of course, he cares about himself and making sure that he achieves his lifetime pension. So I never want to hear Singh complain about Trudeau. Why should he when he's the one who's propping him up? Let's hear how he tried to stay relevant today with his press conference.
Well, thank you so much, Benita. And really, really lucky to have such a powerful voice here in Port Moody, Coquitlam. We've got Benita Zerillo and Laura Dupont, our candidate. The Tri-Cities would be amazingly served by having great voices like these. We were just shopping in the grocery store, and I just want to pull out my receipt here. We bought two things. We bought olive oil. Hold on a second. We bought olive oil and apples.
Ugh, you can already tell this is an act. It's almost, no, it's not almost. It is embarrassing. And it's a slap in the face to Canadians who actually have to buy groceries because, of course, Mr. Singh makes sure that his pocketbook doesn't hurt. He's using his political privilege, as so many other politicians use their political privilege, to make sure that their bank accounts are healthy, while other Canadians are struggling to buy essential groceries.
Here at the superstore, the olive oil was over $20, $23 for this olive oil, President's Choice, $23. And then, and this bag of apples, Imperfect, President's Choice, again, the brand of superstores of Loblaws, $9 for a bag of apples.
The laughable thing about all of this is that Jagmeet Singh is now going to talk about why socialism is the answer to these problems and not the cause. The laughable thing about all of this is that Singh here is going to tell you and I why we need more socialism to curb these prices and not less socialism to do so. It's not as though government has propped up all of these industries. No, it's not as though socialist policy has made Canadians poorer. No, it's not that. No, absolutely not. It's not as though Venezuela is suffering and starving. No, there's lots of food on those shelves.
Imperfect, pretty much the same price as the other non-local brand, brand of a superstore. They're ripping us off, and I want to just talk about what that means. When you go into a grocery store and you're buying groceries and you're buying more than ever and paying even less, on the other side of that, there's a rich CEO that's ripping you off.
The definition of ripping us off is actually government. If Jagmeet Singh wants to choose a proper example of Canadians being ripped off, then he would point to the federal government, himself included, and say Canadians are being ripped off by the feds. We pay so much and we receive so little. The federal government takes so much from our pocketbooks, so much from our bank accounts, and what do we get in return? So much. More suffering, more struggling, more economic hardship. Now that's a ripoff. That's a ripoff. And it's made especially brutal when you consider that we didn't choose to buy all of these services. We're taxed. We're forced to purchase them. You see, we can choose to buy apples or not. We can choose to buy olive oil or not, but we can't choose to pay our taxes. No, we're not rich enough to do that. We're not in political positions of political privilege. And so we're unable to do that. No, we have to pay our taxes. We're forced to do so. And in return is garbage.
And that is happening because liberals and conservatives have let these CEOs have all the power, all the wealth to rip you off, and you end up paying the price.
Yeah, so also notice how that doesn't make any sense at all. Like Singh just spews vomit from his mouth and then expects us to piece together the puzzle. So he says that the Conservatives and Liberals, remember, he is holding up the Liberal Party. The Conservatives and Liberals have allowed CEOs to get wealthy, and therefore that's ripping you off. Now, I'm not precisely certain how the logic flows there. A rich CEO therefore means we're getting ripped off. That's a strange thing to say. I don't quite understand the logic. But nevertheless, Singh demands that we swallow it.
$30. Almost $40 you spend here on two items. This is what families are up against here in the Tri-Cities, but across the country. Families are hurting because they try to go in and buy basic things. You need cooking oil, want some fruits for your family. Like Benito was saying, it's so expensive to buy healthy. Like, what are families to do? And the costs are so high. And I want to be clear about this. Justin Trudeau's had the power in the past 9 years to take this problem on. What has he done? Ignored the problem.
So Singh isn't wrong. It's true. Prices are unbelievably high and it's unbelievably difficult to live right now. But who is he to talk about how Trudeau's done absolutely nothing while hypocrite Singh here continues to prop up this government?
Food prices exceed inflation, general inflation, for over 2 years, and he did nothing about it. On top of that, we know that the corporate grocery stores, like we're in front of Superstore, it's owned by Loblaws. Loblaws posted $1 million a day in excess profits. These are outrageous numbers. And the thing is, when they're making outrageous profits, people are paying their price. You are paying more for less. People are hurting.
Now, this is actually the stream's fault. So we'll just skip ahead to where it returns.
Fair share and reinvest that into giving people a break. There are things we can do. We can change the rules to benefit people. I know the big corporations don't want that. Liberal and conservatives certainly don't want it, but we do. We want the rules to be changed so they protect you and your wallets, not corporate profits. I'll do that again in French, and then I look forward to your questions. Donc, c'est clair.
Okay, so Singh here is demanding more socialism, of course. He demands that government become more involved in the process of groceries and other essential items in the home, instead of considering the fact that maybe it's because government is so involved to begin with that we have such high prices. Maybe it's because government's the one printing the money and therefore creating inflation that we have such high grocery prices. Maybe it's because the government imposes such ridiculous restrictions on so many businesses that we see high grocery prices. Maybe it's because the government has imposed a carbon tax on all goods that we see an increase in the price of groceries. Maybe it's because of the size of the government that we see an increase in the price of groceries. Because all we've seen over the last 9 years, actually really since the government started, how many hundreds of years ago, what is it, 100 and some years ago now? All we've seen is an increase in the size of government, and yet things become more expensive. So maybe instead of doing what hasn't worked over the last how many decades, we decide to change and invert our strategy so that we make government smaller and allow the free market to work as it's supposed to work.
Réduire les prix pour les innovateurs ont donné prise, puis for any questions you might have. Ce qu'on peut faire et ce qu'on va faire. Merci. With that, I'm ready for any questions you might have.
I think we have any questions on site at the moment. We're going to go to the Zoom line for questions.
Sure.
Alors, je vais juste rappeler pour tout le monde en ligne d'utiliser la fonction lever la main pour poser une question. Just reminding everyone online, if you'd like to ask a question, to use the raise hand function. I have no questions online.
So no one's listening. Which again, why? Singh's ideals are insane. Singh's strategy to quote unquote save the country is insane. His strategy to do so is totally futile. He wouldn't save the country. He wouldn't bring this country into a utopia. Rather, he would drag it down into a socialist abyss where everyone is broke and everyone is scrounging for food.